We ready to go?
We are ready to go. David, is it fine now? All
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah, we're all set.
Great. The stage is yours, and happy Friday.
All right, great. Thanks, Adil. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, to Ask Me Anything at Circular Protocol. I'm David Cutler, the host of this show. This is a really great one. We're getting into the data now, folks. Blockchain and data marketplaces, the future of data ownership. This is where the business models take off because data is now exponential. We are lucky to have two great speakers today with us, Gianluca Novi, of course, founder of Circular, and Trent Davis, the head of growth at Baselight DB. He's also head of growth at Finster, Finstera Labs, who actually made the deal to build Baselight. We're going to learn all about Baselight DB soon. You guys with me today? How are you?
Oh, we're doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having us today. Super excited to get
So
down into kind of what we're building and be able to chat with you guys about Circular as well. Should be fun.
I'm more interested in talking about Loveland and Arapahoe Basin.
Hey, if you're ever in the Colorado area, feel free to hit me up. Right, we can take you out to some fun spots.
No, it's
But
probably the coolest place in America to ski. It's just the chillest, funnest vibe. If
it
anyone's a
is
skier,
quite.
go hook up with Trent, and he's going to show you where the powder is and the best bars are.
Hey, that's the goal, right? Yeah, come on out here. If you guys are ever at East Denver, especially, that's one of the bigger events out in the area. So hit me up next time you're there, and we can show you around.
All right, great. So today we're talking about the global data economy. It's exploded to $274 billion last year. So what we're talking about is yet 80% of enterprise data remains siloed and unmonetizable, while data breaches cost organizations an average of almost $5 million per incident. So it's getting really expensive. Today, we're exploring how blockchain technology and decentralized data marketplaces are transforming data from a liability into a strategic asset where ownership, privacy, and value creation converge. It sounds very, very circular, right? Our guests will share insights on building compliant data infrastructure that enables secure and monetization while maintaining trust and regulatory compliance. Trent, did I kind of give the big heads up properly there?
I think that was a fantastic introduction. Yeah, I think it's time to start getting into some of the details here, right?
All right, good. Let me start with Gianluca. Can you kind of reintroduce yourself to the group? You've been traveling a lot lately. What's going on? Tell us a little bit about how your medical simulation experience at Harvard led you to co-founding Circular, and let's kind of reset to our growing group. Some people might not have met you yet.
Hello there. This is Gianluca. Uh, what can I tell you? I've been working with data all my life as a researcher. And like I said, I came up with this idea of funding Circular mostly because during COVID time, I saw uh, a turning point in a matter of trust. I said, after all the stuff that is happening, the trust in a healthcare institution and industry will be completely devastated, and that will start propagating to all the other verticals. And I think it was one of the most spot on predictions I made in my life, even if for me it was really obvious. Right now, this is exactly what is happening. You know, when people read around on social media all these conspiracy theories, it's not that people get crazier. It's simply that that's a symptom of a loss in trust. And now, can you rebuild that trust? My answer is yes, maybe, but that will take more than a generation. And and if not, what is the alternative? Well, the alternative, in my opinion, is the use of uh, blockchain technology to offer transparency, full transparency, and security on the provenance and maintenance of data. So, who owns, in my opinion, the control of data in the future will pretty much control the world. So, that's why this becomes more and more uh, exponential. Until today was about who controls finance, but now it's who controls data because at the level we are right now, data influences finance, influences politics, influences anything. So you better know what data you're working with.
So obviously, this has been core to your, as you say, all your business life. Now building a data trust layer, which is what I guess what Trent is interested in. You know, having this foundation that you can proceed with your vision. Tell us a little bit about your vision at Baselight. How are you approaching this data marketplace challenge? You know, this trust that Gianluca is talking about, and maybe even a little bit of your experience at Ripple and Protocol Labs. Catch us up to who Trent is besides a hot dog skier.
Well, hey, I'll give you a quick update on myself here, and then we'll get into the details of Baseline. How about that? So, I've been in the crypto space now for roughly 8 years, give or take, working at anything from brand new DeFi applications to enterprise crypto solutions at Ripple to decentralized file storage or data storage or Protocol Labs. So I've been around the block a few times. I've been through multiple cycles, seen kind of what's exciting, what's not, seeing flashes in the pan in terms of, this is the new hype versus this is what's actually valuable in the long run. And that's one of the things that we're really excited about here at Baselight is, we've all heard the kind of eye-rolling joke that data is the new oil. It's going to be driving all enterprises for the foreseeable future, if not forever. And we kind of do agree with that to an extent, right? Data is going to be the most important asset we could possibly do, but the problem with the data is the new oil analogy is that the oil industry has always been hyper value extractive, right? They're literally pulling things out of the ground and then selling it to us at high costs. And then a bunch of boardrooms make billions and billions and billions of dollars. Now, if we think data is going to be the new oil, we don't really want to recreate that ecosystem. We don't want to create that economy to where the value just goes into the hands of a few people. Instead, we're looking to build it out so that the value of data goes back into the hands of the data providers, those who are curating it, those who are distributing it, and then also those who are able to actually analyze it and come up with really, really high valuable insights and new findings. And so at Baselight, we're really looking to break down those barriers of data access, break down those barriers of data analytics so that it's not just data scientists who are able to actually analyze it, but everybody's able to discover what they need. Everyone's able to access what they need. And then those who are providing the data are actually able to make money on it themselves if they want to, or they can provide it for free. It's totally up to them. So that way we're really getting that value of data back into the hands of data providers, data curators, and those who are using it, and trying to really make sure that ecosystem is, has as much equality in it as possible versus simply just accruing data to the top 5 or 6 boardrooms that control data today.
So excellent. That's a great intro and overview. So let's be very, very specific about what this partnership can be, where Circular's certified data sets can be published on Baselight's platform that is compliant and verified. So the data creators can use, make a living off of that data. So is that your business model?
It's part of it, absolutely, yeah. So the idea is that anyone who has significant amounts of data, right? So we're thinking tabular data in the sense of like CSV files or Parquet files of large data sets. So a really easy example would be like if you were indexing a chain, for example. So if we indexed Circular as data sets, right? And people could start querying the chain itself to figure out exactly what's happening on it. Now, if you're someone who's already in the Circular ecosystem and you have a bunch of data sets that pertain to DeFi, for example, and you would like to be able to make a secondary revenue stream off of them, then by all means, you can list them on Baselight. Now, I'll be very transparent right now. All the data on the platform is for free, and that is very much intentional so that people could just come and try it out and use it. But once we turn monetization features on, then anyone that has large amounts of data should be able to come. They can upload it permissionlessly. So you don't have to talk to us if you don't want to. Granted, we'd love to talk to you, but if you don't want to, that's fine. And you can upload it permissionlessly. You can start distributing it. You can set your own pricing mechanisms and then start having that secondary revenue model for your already existing business, or even a DAO, or individuals who want to curate data themselves can come and start earning money that way. So hopefully that kind of gives a very high level overview of what that looks like.
It's exactly what we want to do, just to kind of get the questions coming in relation to what you're building. So Hey, everybody, write up your questions into this X. We'll go through and we'll read them out later. So please feel free to ask questions on this topic. So Gianluca, how does Circular's approach to data certification differ from traditional data management, especially in healthcare, where data integrity can literally save lives?
Well, that's very simple. Until now, because right now there is not much around. The paradigm is that there is one entity, which is an organization in most cases, that is fully audited and becomes the certification authority. But that's exactly what we are trying to change as a paradigm. The fact that there is an authority is a red flag, in my opinion, because if there is an authority, it means that there is a limited number of people that can be influenced or they can be corrupted to issue certification on stuff that is not supposed to be certified, or cancel or withdraw certifications that were issued in the past. So the idea of having the control of that process as a centralized paradigm is, in my opinion, what is extremely wrong. So that's why the idea of circular is now to use a decentralized paradigm for a certification of data. But because when I approached this industry, the main problem was, yes, I want to certify on a decentralized ledger. I like this. But the problem is that all the decentralized ledgers, they're not compliant with this framework or with that framework or with this or with that. So at that point, I said, okay, then that's what is needed is really a decentralized ledger that can work with regulators, and that's what we made as our core feature. So try to build around the different regulatory frameworks so that at that point we can offer a tool that is not going to break any compliance and is going to be meant to as natively used for certification, but as a decentralized system.
So are you talking about a problem that you're solving in data breaches or errors or more efficient research? What are you targeting as the biggest need in this industry?
None of these. What we do is simply take the data at some point in time, which can be preferentially when the data is created, and we take a picture of the data and we create a signature of the data, and we offer you a proof that whenever you access the data ever again, the data is in its original form and was never manipulated unless was tracked, was declared that was manipulated and now was manipulated. So the fact that that is to offer that integrity is a very important fact, and I explain you why. Because imagine that I want to sell, I have a data set of data and I want to sell because companies can do their statistics, I don't know, to predict the market. And after the first two clients pay me a lot of money and they hand me a check, hey, why don't you buy us a little bit this data so my competitors will not have the same advantage I had? Well, who comes next doesn't have a way to evaluate if that data is in its original form or changed over time. And even if you have a log, even if you have, that those kind of systems, you still are you offering a centralized guarantee assurance that data didn't change. But most importantly, if you instead want to protect the quality of your data, you want to also offload off your shoulder that liability, that responsibility about the integrity of your data. Why do you want to keep that? Because at some point someone might accuse you to manipulating the data that you're selling or you're providing, and even if you didn't, by the time you demonstrate that in court, that's going to cost you a reputation, it's going to cost you money, that's going to give you a lot of headaches. So if there is a technology that can take out a signature and offer you a technological way to demonstrate the data integrity, I think it's a no-brainer to have that in place.
So, Trent, is that the priorities that you have as far as what problems you're solving. You just got $3.75 million raise. Congratulations. And what specific pain points in data discovery and monetization are you solving that existing platforms haven't yet addressed?
No, it's a great question, and thank you for the congratulations. We really are pretty excited to be working with our investors, and raising that money is always a really good feeling. The main pain points, I mean, the first one I touched on really is getting that value back into the hands of data providers to make sure that it's not just going into a hand like 5 or 6 large centralized companies' wallets, right? That's one of the key points. But when it comes down to it, right now, when we're looking at data today and how it's accessed, it is just incredibly difficult to find what you're looking for. And especially in certain niches, like in DeSci, for example, right? There's a bunch of data in DeSci. There's a bunch of stuff that's really exciting. There's a bunch of medical data out there. Most of it's super hard to find. The DeSci data folks that are curating it may not have a great way to distribute it outside of their very focused ecosystems, right? Or their very focused communities. And so right now, if you're trying to find data across, let's say, medical data or crypto or sports or anything else for that matter, you're going to be spending a hell of a lot more time just searching for it than you are actually analyzing it. And it's that searching that's really, really hard. And typically, if you do find it, the most valuable data is going to be locked behind these super centralized contracts that take a long time to negotiate. They're usually very expensive. And how the money that you're spending to even get access to this data is being distributed behind the scenes is incredibly opaque. You're never going to see where it goes necessarily. And so we're really trying to break down what we consider these data silos, right? These areas to where I have to go and open accounts at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different websites or different data brokers. I need to negotiate my contracts with them. I need to search their entire data catalogs, then download it, pay for it, probably then change it up a bunch to clean it so that I can actually combine it with the rest of the data that I have access from my other data brokerage accounts. We don't like that. That's not efficient. That is a really bad way of doing everything. And it's not very transparent either. It's pretty hard to see where money's going. And so with Baselight, what we're looking to build out and the whole goal we're trying to solve is making data discovery, accessibility, analysis, as well as monetization just a few clicks. And so just a really quick example of how that would work. If anyone can go to databaselight.app, so it's baselight.app if you want to get tested out, it's free. From sign up to uploading your own data set to distributing that data set on the platform takes around 3 to 4 minutes if you press the right buttons. If you're doing that with traditional data brokers or suppliers right now, at minimum, that's going to take you days, if not longer. And so we're really making this a lot easier for folks to distribute their data. We're making it a lot easier for folks to find the data they need. And then using our entire built-in suite of tools, you can analyze it on the platform. You can visualize it on the platform. We're really looking to be a one-stop shop for data access and analysis. And that's really the end goal.
So as a classic two-sided marketplace, you need to have the contents and the data and the users. So right now you're in the process of building that momentum of just awareness.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? And the two-sided marketplace is one of those things that's very interesting to solve, right? It's like you said, you need both consumers who want the data, but you also need data on the platform that consumers want to use. And so right now we're really in that building out the data availability aspect of Baselight. Right now we have north of 53 billion rows of data. I think we have 275,000 plus tables and somewhere north of 50 something thousand data sets that you can access. Again, this spans everything from crypto to climate to sports to DeSci to you can name it. We have a million different options there. And so that's really what we're going on right now is trying to find these partners like with Circular who have these vast ecosystems of very niche data sets that are highly valuable that most users probably wouldn't be able to go find themselves or be able to access themselves for one reason or another. And so that's why we're excited to work with Circular and kind of plug into their ecosystem and hopefully work with some of their partners to get some of their data on the platform for more easily distribution and monetization mechanisms.
Yeah, so we'll have to talk to Gianluca and our clients about which ones make sense for them to get their own exposure for. So we're merely powered by. But we'll have to talk and look through our list and find out where, because we don't like to touch the data. I mean, that's what Gianluca says, right? Gianluca was like, we're not manipulating that data in any way. We are really certifying it. So we don't have access to the data itself. It's more theirs.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why we're excited to work with your guys' partners, right? And to be clear too, one of the things that I just want to make sure everyone is aware of, we also, I mean, we have data sets that we're putting together ourselves. So, for example, we just indexed the top 10 EVM chains ourselves that people can go and use. But when people bring data to the platform to start distributing it, monetizing it, analyzing it, they keep full ownership the entire time. Right. So if you upload data to Baselight, you are still the owner of it. We're just helping you distribute it. So you're able to set your permissions, you're able to set your monetization, all those types of things yourself. This is not something that we want to do. We do not want to take ownership of your data. We don't want to take ownerships of partners' data or anybody else's. We just want to help distribute it and make sure that it gets in the hands of more people, so we get more and more insights and more discoveries. And that's really the end goal of how kind of the data distribution more or less works. We can get into details if you want.
Yeah, the whole it's a classic ownership and distribution, and you're playing directly into that concept, which is fantastic. It's a great business model. So, Gianluca, let's back up again and talk a little bit about technical infrastructure and compliance, because that's what you're promising in this scenario. Can you walk us through how Circular's multi-chain architecture supports both public research collaboration and private healthcare compliance?
Yeah, so the story is that there are different needs, and you somehow need to be able to provide a model, you say, one size fits all. And so obviously, at the moment, we don't feel we can cover everything, but we are trying to go for the toughest ones, and particular for the healthcare side, which is the one of the most highly regulated. But let's think about some of the general needs. So a lot of companies, they don't want to disclose their data, and they are, pretty jealous of their data. They buy data, but they have, for compliance reasons, need to leave what is called an auditing trail. So if you work with in healthcare, at any time you can get someone to audit your data, and you need to be able to demonstrate through a combination of technologies that data is in its original form and was not modified over time. In this moment, I am in Arizona, and the topic is drug production records, and FDA can come at any time, knock to your door, verify your data, and they need to have 100% certainty that data was not changed over time. For example, you have a certain type of data, and then after the drug is on the market, you change that data because somehow you want to get out of trouble. There was a contamination that now you want to hide. So there are different needs. A government might have a different needs. They want to certify government data, which can be more or less public, but there is one thing that they will not tolerate, and it is the use of a certification technology where the majority of the consensus for that technology is sitting outside of their country. So imagine that, I don't know, you want to certify economy records for this country, but the majority of the consensus comes from China. You will never do that. So these are two examples. So the blockchain for sure can offer you, through zero knowledge proof, the possibility to certify the data and to create an auditing trail without disclosing the data, which is what addresses the most common use case. But for example, for situations like the other one that I described about, the jurisdictionality, then when you want to work with the other existing layer ones, there are only very few solutions to that problem. One of the the mostly proposed solution is that you create a new network only for your country, and then you run nodes only on that country. And in most cases, you end up in a centralized paradigm, which defeats the purpose of using a blockchain in first place. So in those cases, for example, it's not through the zero knowledge proof that you work. You work through the architecture of the system. So Circular is a multi-chain network, which can have multiple blockchains within the same network. That means that you can create a blockchain that runs only for a specific country, and you can ask only the nodes that are living in that country to process transactions for that blockchain. So creating, in a matter of fact, jurisdictional virtual network. Virtual because it's only a partition of the existing network, the overall network, so that the majority of the consensus for that country is within the boundaries of their country. Now, it's okay if there are some nodes that they're fooling and they are in a different country. It doesn't matter, but as long as you have for those kind of networks, for those kind of blockchains, a KYC node, you can have both. You can have non-KYC or KYC nodes on Circular, as long as you have the majority of the nodes as KYC nodes within that country, you're good. So that becomes absolutely acceptable for governments. So when you start having and implementing all these kind of features in your architecture, with each one of these features, you address one particular problem of the regulation. And that's the big difference between Circular and the other blockchains. All the other blockchains were meant to be used 99.9% for DeFi and DeFi only. So the broader, the more public, the better. With Circular, you have all the different shades of gray. So you can have all the different shades of privacy and partitioning, but the only common denominator of all the existing solutions is that they are decentralized and they are extremely, I would say, very easy to scale and adopt. That's pretty much the biggest difference. It's designed with that concept in place as first and most important feature.
Excellent. Great. So Trent, let's talk about this democratization of data analytics, right? There's the flag that you're waving. Uh, uh, how does Baselight handle this technical challenge of making data both discoverable and protected, especially with sensitive research data sets?
That's a great question. So the whole idea behind democratizing data and getting around that idea is simply that we're trying to truly demystify data analytics and data science to the fact that anyone can do them, right? I mean, right now, you pretty much have to be a data scientist to find these really key insights or be a SQL master to know exactly how to code your certain queries and things like that. And if we're being honest with ourselves, that's not everybody. In fact, that's not nearly the majority of everybody out there who wants to get insights. People want to be able to see data. They want to be able to manipulate data. They want to create dashboards. They want visualizations to share with their communities and get better insights. But not everybody knows how to do that. And it can be pretty challenging and it can take a long time to learn. I mean, I'll be very honest with you guys. I am most certainly not a data scientist myself. I don't pretend to be. And so a lot of the things that we're actually talking about internally is how do we democratize data in the sense that we can really reward as many people as possible who are supplying it and curating it, as well as make it really easy for those who want to analyze data to be able to come to the platform and find exactly what they need. And so we're building out a really fantastic suite of tools right now that will essentially make data analytics and data science as easy as just typing with natural language. Right? So you can think of that as an AI assistant. We've recently announced our MCP server is still it's in test and it's functioning really well right now, and we're pretty excited to roll that out to the public, ideally sooner than later. But the context here is that we just want people to be able to come to the platform and quickly find exactly what they need to do. And so we have a really robust data catalog, super easy to search it via keyword or a data provider or topic. It'll explain to you exactly when that data set was last updated, where the data came from, who the data provider was. It shows you what's called the schema. So that's how you would define your variables, as well as a bunch of descriptions about the tables and the data sets themselves. So you know exactly what you're accessing. Now, in terms of some of the more sensitive data sets, I do want to kind of call some of this out here a little bit. One thing that we do have right now is we do currently retain control over the data catalog, right? So if there is something uploaded by some third party or something that is then requested to be taken down by a lawful entity, we do have the ability to do that. Now, when we're talking about the data that's being uploaded to Baselight, we're not talking about like your individual data or my individual data, right? Like I wouldn't be uploading a bunch of personal stuff to Baselight. Instead, what it's built for is more of these large scale, non-identifying data sets that people can then combine with anything else on the platform. So like I'm not going to be uploading my banking records, right? That wouldn't make any sense. But there might be someone out there who has a large data set, for example, on I don't know, the latest NBA stats, and they think it's more valuable than what's currently out there on the market today. They could upload that to the platform, and that's easy. So we do have ways to guard against some of the more sensitive data being uploaded. Like I said, we can remove it from the catalog. And one other thing too, you would consider us more of a DApp. We're not like a blockchain, right? So we're not making a whole new L1, which is why we're in talks with folks like Circular and others as well to be interoperable so that our DApp and our data catalog, our data analytics can live across multiple chains to be able to break down these barriers because we don't want to just silo people into certain areas and instead we want to make it as easy to discover as possible. So because we're not an L1 and more of a DApp, we do contain or we do have the ability to have a little bit more control over the data that's uploaded to make sure that it is exactly what's supposed to be on Baselight. Or if people have concerns and requests or pull down requests, then we can take it off as well. So there are some security measures in place there. And again, this is meant more for tabular, large data sets versus individual data. So,
and partnerships obviously being a key to your business model. So this question is to both of you. Given Circular's recent partnership with Baselight, right? How do you see certified data from Circular's ecosystem integrating with Baselight's marketplace? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but how does that flow actually work? I mean, are we selling it, you selling it, are we working together? How does that express? Because what we're talking about is the combination of both of us creates this endless trust from data certification through discovery and monetization. Talk a little bit about what the goal is for that process.
absolutely. Do you mind, Gianluca? Do you mind if I take that one first, and then I'll hand it off to you?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. So how we're thinking about it with partnerships, especially with the circular ecosystem, and why we were attracted to reach out in the first place to see if there was similarities here and interest, is really that data provenance and auditability functionality of circular, and that's obviously really really key with medical and DSI data. Now, there's data sets out there that you probably don't need a full-on audit trail to feel comfortable using, and that's fine. We'll obviously bring them to the platform as well, but in terms of DSI and medical related data, and as a lot of the partners in the ecosystem for Circular are working with, we were really attracted to the auditing aspect and being able to see exactly, when was this data set changed, what was changed in it, who did it, those types of things. Because without that, it's very difficult to actually share any medical related data or any DSI related data. And so that was one of those really key differentiators and the focus that Circular is having as to why we wanted to work with your guys' team. Now, how that would look on the platform, right now you can see when data sets are changed and updated and when the data was last pulled, but it's not in a way that's tracked on chain right now. Whereas when we start integrating ecosystem participants in Circular who have a bunch of data, then we'll be bringing in that on-chain certification level for their data sets in particular because they're using medical data or because they're in the DSI data space. And we want to make sure that we do know, when was this updated, who did it, how is it done? Because that's really key if we're trying to distribute that data to make sure that we are compliant with laws all over the place. So that's more or less how we're seeing it and why we wanted to talk with Circular. Gianluca, I'd love to kind of hear your take on it as well, but that's kind of how we're viewing it right now.
No, absolutely. I think it's absolutely the reasonable way to go, and I think that would be part of your learning curve, and eventually, after you start seeing that, start also proactively extending that logic to other data sets that you will have, because again, even if you sell a data set that comes from somewhere else, you are still going to be exposed to that possibility of someone telling you that that data set has been manipulated before it got in their hands. It's in my opinion, a no-brainer. In different jurisdictions now, this is becoming more and more, let's say, a requirement. For example, we are talking with some of the people in the government in UAE, particularly Dubai, where they're even envisioning the possibility to have as a mandatory um, uh, feature for the data that needs to be purchased to be certified, especially if this needs to be used to train AI, which is what I foresee as one of the major applications of data, and for the more diverse data. I mean, when you train an AI, the training of the AI is, and I tell you this because I also take care of that, is a very expensive process. Now, if you're training a large model, it's a very expensive process. And if you don't pay attention to the quality of the data you are using, that becomes extremely uncomfortable. So it's not, if you're training a simple LLM, doesn't matter. Whatever text you can throw inside, it's fine. Even in that case, there is a difference between base training and then fine tuning. But when you start using now predictive models for finance, for any other industry, choosing the data is extremely important, because if you introduced data that has been manipulated, that has been purposely biased, the answer of your AI is going to be pretty much what the person that has been biasing the data wanted. So the data becomes the ultimate Trojan horse to introduce narratives into AI. An example, I take a data set of clinical records and I remove all the collateral effects of a drug. Then I train an AI with that data. And then all of a sudden, when you interrogate that AI is going to recommend that drug because there is no collateral effect. Now, this is obviously a dumb example, but just to make the point. So data can become a Trojan horse to influence anything. That's why you want to leave a track of its integrity, because that helps you sell the data better. It's going to become more and more a requirement on the market, because data is becoming every day more and more important.
Is Circular going to have some products specifically, proof of AI frameworks or explainable AI in healthcare? Is that one of the products you're thinking of delivering?
Right now, we're doing this for the data itself, but at the same time, I think that following a little bit my post, probably the community is aware, we are also working on training large language models. We are literally implementing our own, and we are playing with this technology, and we are learning what is in that process that can be improved using Circular. And we kind of have now a pretty solid strategy on what to implement to protect specifically the AI training.
That's exciting. That's very, very necessary as we get into these hallucinations and
Hey,
proprietary data.
David.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. So we have a dear friend, Sean, waiting in the audience. So please take him into the conversation.
Are you talking about Sean Ogilvy?
Yes,
Of course.
here.
Hey, Sean, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm well. I didn't mean to interject, but happy to jump in and contribute here as well. So
No, I'm glad. There was a question that I was going to ask you. So it's about product development, right? So your thing, how do current regulatory frameworks like GDPR and HIPAA impact your product development? And how do you see this evolving in relation to this data marketplace future?
that's a great question. Look, I think like Gianluca's described previously, when it comes to these kinds of solutions, Circular was built from the ground up to address GDPR and HIPAA compliance and these kind of regulatory frameworks in a way that other networks out there that were more general purpose can't be retrofit to be as accurate. I think, beyond just GDPR, something I think that's interesting that I wanted to bring up in this AMA as well that is maybe a little bit outside of the scope. And I was just thinking about this, listening to the speaker's talk here, was this AMA in general has been about how you can transform data into trusted and monetizable assets. And just thinking more about where Web3 has been going, and a little bit outside of the DeSci and sort of GDPR angle here, I think prediction markets is actually a very interesting natural extension here. So, you look at Polymarket and these other prediction markets out there that have been something that has had, let's say, real product market fit in the Web3 space. These markets, they really depend on high integrity data and transparent resolution processes, which I think is essentially, when you sort of get down to it, exactly what this partnership between Circular and Baselight enables. By being able to provide this certified data infrastructure to prediction markets, you can unlock pretty interesting new data-driven financial products. I think that's probably worth talking about after this call as well. When you double click into that, you might ask, like, how does this work for future events, given that certified data is often historical? I think something that could be very interesting here with this partnership is that they could essentially, Circular and Baselight could act as almost like a tamper-proof oracle that can publish the official result. So whether that's, I wouldn't go necessarily so much into healthcare or pharmaceuticals, obviously, because prediction markets in that sector would obviously be highly regulated. There's a lot of other sectors where that could make quite a lot of sense, whether it's public infrastructure, climate milestones, all kinds of things.
So the entire publishing industry needs some element of provenance and ownership.
Sure, the reproducibility of studies, all this kind of thing. So I didn't mean to take it away from the initial question, but I was just sort of stewing here, sitting and thinking, is there a place here where Circular and Baselight, given our natural strengths, can actually extend into prediction markets in quite interesting ways in order to monetize this data too?
Well, it's a great point, because now compliance itself becomes a competitive advantage rather than just a regulatory requirement. I mean, we're getting ahead of the game here, and that's the goal.
Sure.
So let's bring this down before we go to the questions quickly. Kind of a question for both, or all three of you. What does success look like as we're looking ahead a couple of years? Blockchain-enabled data marketplaces. We're talking about a huge growth, 63% compounded average. It's a huge marketplace. How do you see this becoming essential rather than experimental? What are we doing to make sure that the awareness of this on both sides of the marketplace are seeing that this is a viable business model, but also something that helps them do more? What do you think we have to do to kind of get there?
I'll take it. I'll take that one first. So, for me, like, what success looks like before we actually talk about how we're getting there is simply people are using Baselight or other even similar data analytics tooling or marketplaces that are on chain without knowing they're even using something that's an on-chain solution, right? I mean, that's kind of the default answer for a lot of these types of questions for me, because we don't necessarily know. Most people don't know how the internet works. But we're using it on a daily basis, and it's built into our lives. And so what I want is for things like Baselight, like Circular Protocol, to be able to evolve to a place to where people could interact with them seamlessly without having to worry about all the on-chain crypto blockchain jargon that I myself and a lot of us also get trapped in talking about, because we've been in the space for so long and we totally understand what these high, intensity jargony words mean, but the everyday person down the street, or someone who's working in a lab at a university who's never tried any on-chain solution, has no idea what those things mean, right? And so I want to be building this out in a way that actually brings the next 1 million, 2 million users on chain simply because they're using a product that's seamless and it's really awesome, and they don't even know they're on chain. And that's really the end goal here. Now, how we do that is going and building out a bunch of very easy to do solutions. So like I said, it takes roughly 3 to 4 minutes to sign up, upload your data, and distribute it on Baselight. That right there is empowered because we're trying to make this as permissionless as possible and very, very simple. Whereas the Web 2 experience takes days, if not weeks, to do that. And that's not very fun. And people don't want to wait that long. And so we're trying to speed up these processes, make them permissionless, make them as seamless as possible, so people want to come and use Baselight, and ideally, if they like it, then they'll start using other on-chain solutions, and we'll start pulling more and more people into the broader on-chain ecosystem to really see the advantages that take place here. So that's kind of how I see it happening. And I think it really comes down to how easy are these to use? What's the actual real value I'm getting? Not just necessarily from a token, for example, but the actual real world use case that I can go and use this for. And then also speed of execution, I think, is key. So those are kind of my three main things of how I think we get there. But I'd love to hear Gianluca's thoughts on it as well.
No, it's I kind of agree with you. I think yeah, that's pretty much you cover it all.
Well, you want to make it, you're spending you and Sean are spending a lot of time making these tools easier and easier. iStamp is a perfect example of that, and it is the simplest form of getting on chain. So this user experience obviously is the major answer. Then people don't have to even know that they're using a wallet or a smart contract or whatever you want to say what it is. So I think we're heading in that direction, and I just want to share that with the community so they can give feedback and ask questions about it. So which means I'm going to go to some questions right now, if it's okay with you guys.
David, if you don't mind,
please.
I just have one closing thought as well. I think it's clear, like everyone can see the direction this is going. Mark Andreessen said that software is eating the world, and I think just recently NVIDIA's CEO said that AI is eating software. And if anyone watched the Grok 4 release yesterday, the day before, and just in general, you can see that everything is moving to AI very, very quickly. When it comes to AI, the output and so the trust that we're able to put, both as consumers, enterprises, institutions, the trust that you're able to place in these systems is predicated on the integrity of the data. So circling back to what this is all about is that as these AI tools become more and more ubiquitous, and I'm not just talking about chatbots, right? I'm talking about stuff that's sort of in the infrastructure level that's actually making decisions. Let's say like the hidden AI. The ability to trust and the efficacy and sort of the ethical implications of those systems really, really depend on the trust in this data. And I think that we can talk about products and solutions. I wonder if we're going to start moving to, in some ways, like post-product world, where it's not necessarily applications that people are using per se, but things that the AI itself is spinning up generatively. But I think that in this case, the data certification and sort of the marketplace aspect and the ability to query and access this data becomes incredibly important and almost like a foundational layer to the the viability and sort of the trustworthiness of these tools in the future. So maybe not a direct answer, but just like a look into the future and how this partnership and sort of the let's say the respective missions that our teams are after here. I think that they're quite nicely situated for an AI native world.
I'm going to add something on this. When we talk about AI, the majority of people think about the AI thinking about the ChatGPT or Grok. Now, the story is that that's really the surface. The majority of the AI, it's not a chatbot, doesn't speak human language. It's integrated in productive processes and self-driving cars and any other sort of automation. And that's still AI. And believe me, that AI can be biased as well. And that's where it gets even more dangerous. Just to let you understand why this is very important. A biased AI can influence anything. And it is very, very important on the data. And I hope that our folks, our friends at Baselight will understand that. Certified data where you know where the data comes from, what changed in the data, and you can definitely audit that information is going to make a very big difference on the market for any kind of data set. And that's because of where we are going. First movers will be the ones that will start building the trust of the market, their reputation.
That's kind of like...
Oh, David, do you mind if I jump in here really quick?
Please.
Sorry. I know we have audience questions to get to, but I want to respond to that really quick. No, I mean, we're on the same page here, right? I mean, when we're talking about developing AI tooling, both internally and externally, we have a bunch of large companies worldwide who are developing all these different LLMs or functionalities for different AI, like you were saying. The one very consistent thing that we hear across the board is access to trusted, verifiable data. That's what we need to be able to train these things on. That's what we need to be able to interact with them with that nature. And so that's some of the stuff that we're looking into here at Baselight to make sure that you do have a very easy place to discover some of the data that's necessary to build out these toolings or to interact with these toolings, right? And John, I'm really glad you jumped on here too, because the other thing you touched on, and I'll just want to give this 10 seconds, were prediction markets. And that's going to require very discoverable, very transparent, and accurate data. And that's one of those key areas that we're looking to get into as well. And we're actually in talks with some folks right now to help out building some agents that would be interacting with prediction markets. So it's really fun that you jumped on and brought that up, because the second you said that, I was like, oh man, I should have said that earlier. So I'm glad you brought that up. But the overall vibe here, we're in full agreement that in terms of AI development, LLMs and whatnot, that needs data that's easily discoverable, easily auditable, and very transparent, right? And so I think we're all working in the same manner here and moving in that same direction.
Excellent. Let's go. Excellent overview. And I think we're coming to a head here for a couple of quick questions. Here's one from Tolga Ozek. This is for Trent. Great pitch at CoinDesk PitchFest, by the way. Baselight's paper query model is rare. How does it align incentives between data providers and compute processors?
Well, hey, first off, thank you so much for liking the pitch. It was the first time I've been on stage doing a startup competition, so I'm really glad that resonated with you. In terms of how we're looking for monetization of data sets, as well as how users would be paying for access to data or queries and whatnot, to be clear, these are still more or less in development, right? I mean, like I said, all the data on the platform is free. Please come use it. Please come query it. Make your visualizations. Everyone should come and try it out because it is free and you don't have to pay anything right now. Now, when we're in our partnerships or talks with partners and bringing on new data providers, we are in discussions with all of them of, how do you want to monetize data? So when we start talking to some folks here in the Circular ecosystem, there's the whole list of them on your guys' website that I'd love to talk to. When we start talking to them about potentially bringing their data on board, some might want to do a pay-per-query model in the sense that every time their data is accessed by an end user on the platform, that user pays them. Or they might be interested in something more akin to a monthly subscription model. So to get access to this data set, I actually would pay a monthly subscription to that data provider and things of that nature. So that's the nice thing about how we're building it out right now, is that because those who bring their data to the platform are fully owners of their data, again, we don't take ownership of it, we're just helping distribute it, they're able to kind of set that pricing model. They're able to set the licensing for how it's distributed, how it's used and whatnot, really keeping control in that data provider's own pockets, right? Back in their hands. And so that's kind of how we're viewing it. Again, the monetization aspect in terms of paying per query or paying for data access and things like that, we're still in a lot of discussions there. But at the end of the day, what we're really looking to do is make sure that value goes back to data providers while also allowing consumers or businesses or other entities to come and access data in a really seamless way and not have to pay, crazy amounts of money to access one or two specific data sets, where in today's current marketplaces, you typically have to write these massive checks if you just want one table instead of having to access them individually. So that's kind of how we're thinking about it right now. I know that doesn't exactly answer your question, but I hope that kind of gave it a little more context into how we're thinking about it today.
Excellent. Hey, question for Gianluca from Blueberry. As AI dominates healthcare, does Circular plan a blockchain AI product that, I think I asked this, that non-technical stakeholders, patients and clinical staff can use seamlessly?
That's all we're building. Stuff that people can easily use without even knowing that they're using a blockchain. I mean, iStamp you mentioned before. We got attorneys to use iStamp for documents. They don't even know that they're using a blockchain. All they know is that they are notarizing stuff that they can say to their clients, hey, instead to come to my office to notarize your document, just use this app and you can notarize and send me just the certificate. Again, that's a technology and has to be extremely accessible, and that's what we're doing. So yes, it's a very big yes.
I've got a pretty interesting question here for you, Gianluca. It's more in kind of the esoteric, even ethical situation. It's by Carl. What specific mechanisms will prevent blockchain data marketplaces from evolving into surveillance capitalism 2.0, where data originators lose control despite this tokenization?
I would say that this is not it's more for Trent, this question, but I would say that the marketplace is just the window that allows you to, the place that allows you to sell and to easily find your data. Is not monopolizing your data. It's just helping you to make the world aware of your data, that your data is there and can be queried. But Trent, feel free to add
I'll
anything.
happily step in here. I think that this kind of comes down to a few key things here, right? So again, let's go back to the data, at least that we at Baselight are looking to bring onto the platform. Again, this isn't going to be your individual data. Like, we don't want an individual's, for example, driving history of like where they're driving to on a daily basis so that someone can target them for ads. That's not what we are looking to get into. So in terms of a surveillance states type thing with Baselight, looking at individual data, getting all into that stuff, we're not doing that. We're not interested in that. That's not a use case we're looking to build out. Now, with what we're doing with other data on the platform, again, the tabular data, the large data sets that have to do with like climate or finance, DeSci, sports, things of that nature. When you upload data and make it distributed on the platform, so anyone can access it, right? Because you can also upload your own data, keep it private, no one will see it, you can use it how you want. But if you upload data to the platform and you make it so anyone can discover and use it, one of the absolutely key things that you have to do, you can't make it discoverable without doing this, is you have to show exactly where it came from. So you have to give the provenance of the data. And so that's one of those things where there were some other questions that I saw in the chat of, how do you guard against someone stealing somebody else's data and then uploading it themselves and things of that nature. We do make sure the provenance of the data is shown for any data that's being distributed publicly as well as being monetized, right? And so that's one of those things that we can take a look at, as well as potentially be integrating some actually on-chain solutions to that. Now, like I said, this is a DApp, right? Not everything is on-chain with Baselight right now. It is permissionless, though, so anyone can upload data, but we do want to make sure that the provenance of that data is shown. And so we do make sure that that is in the forefront. It is being shown where it's coming from, so that when people do upload data, that is one of those safeguards against just copying somebody else's stuff and saying, look what I did, and then trying to monetize somebody else's work. So we have some safeguards in place, but again, what we're building, I in no way intend for it to become some weird surveillance state thing of individuals' private data. We don't want to do that. That is not in our best interest. And
it's not an anonymous free for all. It's a marketplace where companies are registered, and it's where grown-ups hang out.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's not just some weird I don't know, back room type deal place.
Hey, you want a list? Hey, I got a list for you.
Yeah, right. Like, we're not doing that, right? It's all out in the open. It's all easily discoverable. You can see who's doing what. One of the things that we're building towards right now as well are data provider dashboards. So if you're providing your data to the platform, you'll be able to see how was it used, what kind of queries was it used in, things of that nature. So it's not like you're entering some weird, opaque, murky place, right? It's very transparent, very open. And we're trying to make sure that's the case so that we build that trust and that reputation with our users and data providers, so we can pull more of those Web 2 people into the on-chain ecosystem.
Trent, I think you answered that really, really well. I think I don't know if anyone in this call here saw Peter Thiel's answer when he was on TV the other day when they asked if he was building surveillance technology or if he was the Antichrist, and he couldn't even answer the question. So I think, Trent, maybe you've got to give him some speaking tips. The other thing I'd say, just briefly, briefly for this audience as well, is in this space, I think it's incredibly refreshing for people like Trent to come forward and say, we haven't figured it all out yet. This is a space where everything runs on hype, and there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in anything Web3 related. So it's really great to hear, Trent, to hear you say, we have these ideas directionally, we want to move forward in this direction, but we haven't figured it all out yet. And it's something, but our team is, committed to these principles and to move forward to do things in the right way. So just kudos to you for, answering things in this kind of way. It's very, very refreshing.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And one thing that I think really sets our team apart and why we're comfortable answering questions that way instead of trying to mask everything behind a bunch of hype and buzzwords is our team has 40 plus years in the crypto space, at least. We have decades of experience in data management, from everything from medical data to finance data. And we've seen plenty of things across the crypto space and on-chain ecosystem to where it just is hype. And that's not what we're doing. We're trying to build something that is very long-term, that provides a ton of value. And the best way to do that is to build in the open and, quite frankly, be honest with what you're building instead of trying to say, we have everything figured out, it's all perfect. And so we have the right team in place, and we feel comfortable being able to say, hey, if you have great ideas as to how our vision might, move forward and be successful, please come tell us. Reach out to me, send me a message on Twitter. That'd be great. Join our Discord, come hang out.
Well, let's be more specific about that. That's exactly what these AMAs are for, Trent. How can people get in touch with you? What message do you have for our community to take action? You've already invited them, but be specific about how they can actually reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first things first, I'd love for you guys to come and play around with baselight.app, baselight.app. That's the platform. You can learn more about what we're building at baselight.ai. It's an easy place to go and learn about it as well. But in general, you can always DM me on Twitter here if you want. If you have questions, concerns, you want to kind of learn how to do it, you can join our Discord. I'm very active in there. I try to get back to people immediately. But what I would love, quite frankly, is to learn, what data do you all want access to? Who do you want us to go and try to work with to bring their data onto Baselight so you can access it? How would you like to use that data? What type of queries are you trying to build out? What type of insights are you looking for? Send me that information, because that's really key, right? That's how we build our roadmap for data providers, is from full-on user feedback. That's why we index the top 10 EVM chains, because people were like, hey, we want to use crypto data, on-chain crypto data, but you guys don't have it right now. So we went and indexed 10 chains last week, and we're backfilling them right now all the way to Genesis. So that's the best way for us to move forward, is for your guys' feedback. Tell us what data you want. Tell us why you want to use it. Hop into Discord, message me on Twitter, join the platform, give feedback. That's what we're looking for, because without you guys, quite frankly, this can't be built. And so that's what we're really what we're looking for today.
Excellent. So let's make sure that we're going to come back to you in a little while so we can actually assess how this is going, what kind of projects are coming from it, because that's a great line. We're not just better together, but we exist together, and I think that's what this message is all about today as well. I think that wraps up questions. You've answered all the questions that we have set up here. Adil, is there any housekeeping that we want to finish up with?
Hey, David. Great space today. A lot to learn. Thank you so much, Trent, for joining. So, David, just the community joining from Zeely, the code is sharding. People are very, very familiar with the word sharding, just like auto-progressive sharding. The code is sharding. Thank you so much.
And if you can see the post that I made about defining what sharding means in relation to the concert world, we'll talk about that later for special VIP passes to the next Rolling Stone final concert. I'm David Cutler. Thank you so much, Gianluca, and thank you so much, Trent, and thank you, Sean, for surprising us with your existence today. We really appreciate it. And all kidding aside, have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next time on AMAs with Circular Protocol. I'm David Cutler, and have a great one.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. This has been great.
See ya.
Thank you so much. Happy weekend, everyone.